Continue now at the top of Daf Nun Vavam and Beis Meseches Sukkah. This is Sukkah Daf 56b. The Gemara says, "V'hani tarti maya v'datayo." These 2 extra loaves. Why is it that the incoming mishmar gets 2 extra loaves? Rashi says, "Ad Reb Yehuda kai." We're going here on Reb Yehuda's opinion in the Mishnah. The Amar Hanichnas no tel sheva. Reb Yehuda said that there are 12 total loaves, and the incoming mishmar gets 7, and the outgoing mishmar only gets 5. So the question is, why are they getting an extra 2? So the Gemara says, Amar Reb Yitzchak says, B'schar hagofas delosos. The reason they're getting paid a little extra is because they have to close up the doors of the Beis HaMikdash. Rashi over here says, B'schar hagofas delosos, shemishmar hanichnas magif hadelosos arvis, shepasach osan mishmar hayotze. The mishmar that is outgoing, they opened up the doors, and now in the evening, the mishmar that entered, they're responsible to close up, and therefore they get paid the extra 2. And so the Gemara says, V'nei malei dal b'dal. Why don't they say to them, subtract and subtract? Rashi over here says, why doesn't the outgoing mishmar say to the incoming mishmar, Dal b'dal haser chok zemikan? Forget your extra 2, give it to us evenly, split 6 and 6. B'shvil sheyisiru etzlecha im titol achshav sheva yitol l'shabbos haba mishmar hanichna sheva. If you take 7 now, the next week's incoming is going to take 7. So you're going to lose anyway. So let's just do 6 every time, so to speak. Be mochel your payment now, and then you'll get it next week when the incoming won't take 7. Let's divide it equally now, and then next week we'll also divide it equally. In other words, why don't we just do it that way? We understand they do a little extra work here, but why pay them the 2 now? Why not just divide evenly every week, and it'll all come out even? So the Gemara says, Amar Abaya botzina tava mikra. Rashi over here explains, botzina tava mikra mashal hadyitu. This is like a common saying. Let's say somebody says to his friend, I'm going to give you a small gourd, but it's still attached to the ground. So if you want, you can detach it right now and take it. Or if you want, we can wait a little till it grows, gets a little bigger, and then you can take it then. So tov lo litla miyad. So the meaning of the expression is botzina tava mikara. It's better to take it when it's smaller. It's better to take it immediately. Shema la'achar zman yischari bozeh. Maybe if he waits, the guy's going to change his mind, not give it to him. Or shema lo yitzarech zelazeh. Maybe they won't need it, etc. So hachanami gavi mishmaros. The same thing applies to the mishmaros. Misharoi litol achshav. If you're fit to get paid now the extra amount because you're doing the closing of the doors, lo yamtin l'shabbos haba. Don't delay until the next week to get your payment. Better to take 7 now, divide 7 and 5, than to do 6 and 6 every single week. The Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda says, Uv and cholken. When it comes to the outgoing and the ingoing mishmaros, they divide up the hides of the carbon musaf that's brought on Shabbos. Gemara says, Meisveh, we have the following question. Mishmara hayotzes osa tamid shel shachar musafin. It says the outgoing mishmar, they're the ones who take care of the carbon tamid in the morning and the carbon musaf. Mishmara hanechneses, and then the incoming mishmar, osa tamid shel ben harabayim, they do the carbon tamid of the afternoon, uvazichin, and then they also do the bowls which contain the frankincense involving the lechem aponim. And so the Gemara says, V'ilu musafin cholkin lo katani. It doesn't say anything here about splitting up the hides of the carbon musaf. On the contrary, it just says the outgoing mishmar does the musafin. So it seems to be they don't divide it. So the Gemara says, no, Haitana b'chaluka lo kamayr. It's no proof. This Tana is not talking about division. It's talking about who does it, who takes care of it. So therefore, it could very well be that they divide. Amar Rava, so Rava says, V'atana devei Shmuel, but it was taught in the yeshiva of Shmuel. Demayri b'chaluka, in the Tana devei Shmuel, they are dealing with divisions of musaf and cholkin lo katani, and it still doesn't say anything about dividing the hides of the carbon musaf. The Tana devei Shmuel, because it was taught in the yeshiva of Shmuel, Mishmar hayot says, so tamid shel shachar musafin. Just like before, the outgoing mishmar does the morning carbon tamid and the carbon musaf. Mishmar hanechneses osa tamid shel ben arbayim uvazichin. The mishmar that is incoming, they take care of the tamid of the afternoon and the frankincense of the lechem aponim. Arba kohanim hayu nechnasin sham. Now here it adds a line. There are 4 kohanim who enter. Shnayim mishmar zu, shnayim mishmar zu. 2 come in from the outgoing mishmar and 2 from the incoming mishmar. They enter into the heichol. V'cholken lechem aponim, and they divide up the lechem aponim. So clearly, this brisa is discussing division, and again, it doesn't say anything about dividing up the musafin. V'ilu b'musafin cholken lo katani. It says nothing about dividing up the musafin, and the Gemara says, Tiyufta de Rav Yehuda, Tiyufta, this is indeed a refutation of Rav Yehuda's position. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots, quoting the Mishnah, Hanichnasin cholken b'tzafin, the incoming mishmar, they divide up in the northern side, as we said, that was the more important side of the Azara. Tanu Rabban and the rabbis thought, Hanichnasin cholken b'tzafin, Those who are incoming, they divide up in the northern part of the Azara, Kadesha Yiru, Shehin Nechnasin. It's clear that they're the incoming. Vahayotzin Chokim Bedarim, those who are exiting, they do the southern side. Kadesha Yiru, Shehin Yotzin, they divide on the southern side to make it clear that they are the outgoing Mishmar. The Gemara continues that the two dots, quoting the Mishnah, Bilga Liolam Cholekas Bedarim. Again, the Mishnah said that the family of the Mishmar of Bilga, they always divide in the south. There were a number of fines against them for something that they did wrong, and the Gemara now explains what was wrong. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Ma'asu b'Miriam bas Bilga. There was a story with Miriam, the daughter of Bilga, means to say she was from the family of Bilga. Shehimira dasa, she went off the derech, v'holcha v'nisas l'sardi od echad, mimalcha Yevanim, and she went and she married a soldier from among the kingdom of the Greeks. This is during the time of Chanukah. Now, when the Greeks entered the Beis HaMikdash, she started kicking the Mizbeach. And she said, Lukus, Lukus, wolf, wolf. How long are you going to consume? You're going to burn up the money of Klal Yisrael? You don't protect them in their time of need, basically denigrating the Mizbeach. When the Chachamim heard about this, kavu es tabata, that's exactly what they did. They fixed the ring to make it useless of this particular mishmar. Vesasmo es chalona, they closed up the window or the niche again where they kept their knives. This was all as a punishment for this particular incident. V'yeshomrim, and some say a different explanation of what the family of Bilga, the mishmar of Bilga, did wrong. Mishmarto shoelava, what happened was they came late one Shabbos. V'nichnas Yesheva v'achiv imo v'shimesh tachtav. And so Yesheva ended up serving. Yesheva was the outgoing mishmar, but they ended up serving together with them. They basically had to fill in because they came late. Rashi over here says, Mishmarto shel Bilga shoelava k'shegia Shabbos shelo lo yaboim. They didn't come. They showed it wasn't beloved to them to do the avoda. V'nichnas Yesheva echav seder mishmaros Bilga achar Yesheva. Yesheva comes first, then Bilga. Yesheva yotze Bilga nichnas. Ukeshashah mishmaros Bilga lavo. When Bilga came late, ikvu Yesheva mishmarto v'lo yatsa. Yesheva ended up filling in, staying a little late. Lafikach kansuah. That was the fine against the family of Bilga because they showed that it wasn't something they really wanted to do. They demonstrated that by coming late. And it says, even though usually the neighbors of the wicked don't benefit, but here Shchene Bilga nistakru. Here the neighbors of Bilga, meaning Yesheva, ended up benefiting. Because the fine now was that Bilga always divides in the south. Yesheva achiv b'tzafon, and Yesheva, the outgoing mishmar, right before Bilga, they always get the north. So they benefited from the fact that they were next to this family, which is considered Rishaim. They always get to divide in the north, which is the more chashav area of the Azara. And so the Gemara now says, I understand, according to the opinion that the family, the mishmar of Bilga, was punished because they were late. So Hainu de Kansino Lakula Mishmar, it makes sense. We would find the entire mishmar. This is something they're all responsible for. Miriam Bas Bilga Shehimira Dasa. But if the reason is because this one individual, Miriam, she left, she went off the derech, so Mishum Brate Kansinan Leila Didei, because of this one daughter, therefore the entire mishmar gets fined. Amar Abai says, yes, Kedamriinchi, like people say, Shusa Dianuka Beshuka, if you hear the speech of a child in the marketplace, Odu Avua Odi Ime, it's coming from the father, from the mother. In other words, we know that if she behaved in this manner, if she decided to reject the Torah, it came from her parents. But the Gemara still says, okay, so it came from her parents because of her father and mother. Therefore, again, we punish the entire mishmar. It still doesn't explain anything. And so the Gemara answers, Amar Abaya says, Oy l'Rasha, Oy l'Shchenu. Woe is to the wicked and woe is to his neighbor. So you have a situation here where maybe there were individuals, but the entire mishmar is neighbors, so to speak, of this individual, so they all get punished. Tov l'tzadik, tov l'shcheno. But that which is good for a tzaddik will also benefit the neighbor. It is good to be the neighbor of a tzaddik. Shenemar, like it says, Imru tzaddik ki tov, say of the tzaddik that he is good. Ki prima aleim yochelu, the tzaddik will consume the fruits of their labors. Hadron alacha chalilu slikola Meseches Sukkah. This is the conclusion of Meseches Sukkah. If you're enjoying these videos and this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. And you can take a look at the description box below to see how you can support this channel.